Revolutionary greetings, comrades. It's a Friday today. Firstly, we want to convey our condolences to the family of Elvis Nyati, who died in the hands of criminals in Diepsloot. His death is painful to all of us. We want to thank all progressive Africans that are visiting his family, that have been visiting, continue to visit them. We thank not only Zimbabweans, as was saying, progressive South Africans as well, and the other Africans. We have seen a number of statements from various organizations condemning what happened in Diepsloot to Elvis Nyati. So we want to thank all of you for your solidarity with his family. The family has put out a bank account. There are 2 bank accounts which I've posted on my Facebook page. If you want to make your contribution, there are 2 bank accounts. One is Capitec and the other one is FNB. There is also a cell phone number if you want to send through e-wallet or cash send or whatever. We verified the accounts with Mr. Ndlovu, who's representing the family. So those are authentic according to the family. So like we have said, that we thank all of you for your solidarity. Some of you are very far, will not be able to get to Diepsloot. Some, due to other commitments, be it work and other commitments, will not get to Diepsloot. But want to thank all of you for your sympathy, for your solidarity, and thank those that are physically comforting the family. So we really appreciate, as we have said, a number of organizations, Zimbabwean organizations, civil society organizations, political parties. We have seen them there. We have seen the office of King Bulelani also represented there yesterday. So we thank all of you for that. As we have always said, that the citizens themselves, private citizens, should not be allowed to take law into their own hands. What we are reading now, what we are getting, is that the person that the group was looking for is not Elvis Nyati. So this is a problem of a mob, because a mob cannot allow you to state the side of your story. Whether it's Elvis Nyati, whether it's the person they were looking for, we condemn such actions. A mob cannot go around knocking in people's homes. And we continue to say, if anyone has a problem and thinks that one has committed a criminal offense, they must report that to the police. This is why they are police officers. Citizens cannot go and try to apprehend a person that they think might have committed a criminal offense. People get accused wrongly for having committed a criminal offense. We have seen people appearing in court getting discharged because the state will have failed to provide evidence, or the state will have arrested a wrong person for that matter. We always see this on a daily basis in our courts. So you cannot allow citizens to be going around in the name of Operation Dudula whether at the workplace, whether people's homes, asking people to produce their documents to show that they are legal in the country. And we are surprised, deeply surprised, that the leaders of these organizations are still walking scot-free. We are surprised. The other day I saw a man clad in ANC regalia talking on television, and assumed is a leader of a community in Diepsloot. And we are surprised. We don't know, maybe we are not informed, that such individuals have not been picked up by the police. Because we cannot as a people, all of us mourn the death of George Floyd in the United States, and not mourn the death of Elvis Nyati. He is innocent, he has been killed, and his only crime is that he's an African, gets killed. George Floyd was killed, and his crime was that he's an African, was killed in the United States. The only difference is that George Floyd was killed by white officers, but Elvis Nyati gets killed by black Africans in an African country, in a poor community like Diepsloot. This is very sad. And we expect the police to do their job. And this thing of saying that migrants, undocumented migrants for that matter, are involved in criminal activities is a lie. We know there are people that are involved in criminal activities. Yes. But it can't be correct that every person who comes to South Africa who is not documented is a criminal. It's not so. This is why in 2010, the South African government recognized that Zimbabweans, the people of Lesotho in the case of, in 2014, are economic migrants. They are coming here for economic survival. And they recognized that employers are employing them for the purposes of exploiting them, giving them low wages. This is why, amongst others, in 2010, Documentation Zimbabwe project was then rolled out, which now the government of South Africa says it will not renew the ZEP. But it was in recognition of that the immigration laws in South Africa make it difficult for people of low skill to apply for other visas as provided for in the Immigration Act. In 2010, 295,000 people submitted their applications and 245,000 received DZP. It's a huge number. But there are those that then came after 2010, who by now they are the majority. Government says it will not renew permits to ZEP holders, and we've been saying that the majority will not be able to move to other visas. So you can ask people that are holders of ZEP. They will tell you the difficulty of moving to other visas. Either they do not have critical skills as listed or published in the first week of February 2022, or will not even get a waiver from the Department of Labor for them to apply for a general visa, because a South African can do the job that they do. And the majority of these people, unless something is done, come 1st of January 2023, they will join the long list of the undocumented. Then we are told that people are going to be deported. Fine. But since 1994, a government has failed to deport the majority of the undocumented. The undocumented are not only from Zimbabwe. And this, by the way, is not any justification for anything, but it's a reality. You deport a person to Bedbridge. Before the Kumba Kumba arrives in Johannesburg, the person is also in Johannesburg. And we are told that the border management, which has been rolled out now, is going to make it difficult for such to happen. But our call is that there must be serious thinking and engagement around migration within the SADC region. This is why we are saying, while the African National Congress is an independent organization, it has a right to have friends across the world. But we must ask, why would the African National Congress send a delegation to Zimbabwe during election time, as was the case in 2018 and in previous elections, and they say it is giving solidarity to ZANU PF? What does ANC get in return when it gives solidarity to ZANU PF to win an election? What does it get in return? It gets thousands and thousands of young Zimbabweans who flee Zimbabwe to South Africa. And they cause all these challenges that we are now confronted with. If the African National Congress gives solidarity to ZANU PF, it must therefore accept the responsibility of taking care of the people that ZANU PF is failing to take care of. Because you can't say you are giving solidarity to ZANU PF, but at the same time complain of the migrants from Zimbabwe in South Africa, that 60% or more than 60% women from Zimbabwe come give birth to South African hospitals. Undocumented migrants from Zimbabwe are involved in criminal activities. They are taking people's jobs and so on and so on. But you give solidarity to ZANU PF. What for? It cannot be correct. It cannot be correct. Because when the ANC gives solidarity to ZANU PF, it simply says it is ready to assist the Zimbabweans. There was a SADC summit in Dar es Salaam some 3 or 4 years back, and the SADC head of states adopted 25 October as an anti-sanctions day, where the whole of SADC is expected on the 25th of October every year to campaign against the sanctions in Zimbabwe. And that therefore meant that the economic collapse in Zimbabwe is as a result of economic sanctions. And we have said that economic collapse in Zimbabwe is not as a result of sanctions. While we are opposed to sanctions ourselves, but the economic collapse is not as a result of sanctions. The economic collapse is as a result, one, of poor policies, the neoliberal policies that the Zimbabwean government has been implementing since 1991, that is ASAP. Number two, the economic collapse is as a result of looting of state resources. Three, the economic collapse is as a result of nepotism, where people are not appointed in parastatals based on their qualifications, but they are appointed, one, along ethnic lines, along friendship, or because you are a card-carrying member of a political party. That's the cause of economic collapse in Zimbabwe. So when the African National Congress and the South African government says the economic collapse in Zimbabwe is as a result of sanctions, it therefore must be in solidarity with the people of Zimbabwe, who then cross the border to look for greener pastures as their country is under sanctions. But what does they do? They want to harass everyone. So it's important that we send out this message clearly to the African National Congress to say, what is this? How does the relationship, political relationship between ZANU PF and ANC assist the African National Congress? We must ask these questions because we know historically that the ANC was never in a political relationship with the ZANU PF. ZANU PF is a splinter group of ZAPU in 1963. And the ANC never, ever, during the struggle for national liberation, had a relationship with the ZANU PF. It only had a relationship with the ZANU PF with the signing of the Unity Accord in 1987. ZAPU then pulled out of that Unity Accord in 2009. The ANC remained in alliance with the ZANU PF. We listened when former President Mugabe passed on, when President Ramaphosa, former President Mbeki, former President Zuma held different rallies in KZN singing the praises of Robert Mugabe, saying ZANU PF assisted the ANC during the struggle. There's no evidence of such. The only close assistance that ZANU PF government provided to the ANC, it was the Harare Declaration of 1989. Was it 89 or 9? The Harare Declaration, where frontline states and other progressive forces gathered in Harare in solidarity with the liberation movement in South Africa, and they paved the way for the negotiations. What we are then told, secondly, what we are then told is that when the willing buyer, willing seller agreement expired in 1990, when Zimbabwe was then meant to amend the constitution to nationalize the land, we were told that it is the ANC that then said, no, don't push for that because this will block negotiations to find a settlement in South Africa if the ANC were to push that. I mean, if ZANU PF government were to push that. Other than that, there's no evidence of any support granted to the ANC, and the ANC in particular, by the government of Zimbabwe. I saw a message some few years back, which I think I reposted on Facebook, where there is a Gwanda man who was working in a Bulawayo passport office, who was said to have been one of the people that was organizing traveling documents for the political leadership of the ANC. So we do not have evidence of ZANU PF supporting the ANC during this struggle. I know a lot of ex-ZIPRA cadres that used to move military hardware across Limpopo, risking being arrested by the ZANU PF-led government, and this was happening even during the genocide Kukurawund. So we are raising all these things to say we are going to 2023 elections. The people of Zimbabwe must elect the leadership of their choice without the ANC or any political formation saying they are giving solidarity to ZANU PF. If the people of Zimbabwe want to elect ZANU PF into power, it's their choice, and they should not be condemned. If the people of Zimbabwe think that ZANU PF must continue to lead them, that's their choice. And if the people of Zimbabwe want to elect Nelson Chamisa and his Triple C, it's their choice again. We must, all of us, insist that elections must be held in a free and a fair environment where the people of Zimbabwe have a right to elect their own leadership. But beyond that, we have a responsibility as Zimbabweans. And our responsibility is to rebuild our economy. We cannot outsource the task of rebuilding our economy to anyone other than ourselves, the people of Zimbabwe. Others can come in as partners, but the task of rebuilding that economy is ours. And this first step in doing so is that we must have political stability. Political stability means that ZANU PF and Triple C must begin to engage. They are all Zimbabweans. Because from where we sit, we as communists, we do not think that come 2023, Triple C is going to lose with a huge margin, or ZANU PF for that matter. We will continue to have ZANU PF and Triple C as the biggest political formations in Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe is a two-party system. So it's important, therefore, that all of us must begin to encourage dialogue between ZANU PF and Triple C. And this dialogue is about putting the interest of Zimbabweans first. And putting the interest of Zimbabweans first means that we must begin to talk about building of a national democratic economy. And the national democratic economy can only be built if ZANU PF and the Triple C come together to agree, because they are the two major political formations. If the two of them begin to engage, that would be the first step in bringing stability to Zimbabwe, political stability. And we know what political stability does. It also stabilizes the economy. During the inclusive government, when the global political agreement was signed by parties that were represented in parliament by then, on the 15th of September 2008, and in February 2009, the inclusive government was inaugurated. We had political and economic stability for 4 years. After the 2013 elections, we went back to a polarized society. So it's important that ZANU PF and the CCC must engage. And we know that others who are short-sighted, they will be saying, Mapena, you now support ZANU PF. That is those that are on the CCC. You want us to engage, ZANU PF will not do so. And those in ZANU PF, they'll be saying, Mapena, we knew that you are supporting CCC. I'm not a member of CCC. I will not even join them. I'm not a member of ZANU PF. I will not even join them. But the task we have as part of our Vanguard role is to rebuild the economy. And the rebuilding of the Zimbabwean economy, first and foremost, requires that we create a stable political environment. And the stable political environment means that President Emmerson Mnangagwa, or First Secretary of ZANU PF Emmerson Mnangagwa, and the CCC President Advocate Nelson Chamisa must meet. It's important for us to do that. So that, firstly, they have to meet. They agree whether they agree on the roadmap to elections. But what is key is that they have to meet so that we bring stability to Zimbabwe politically. Once we have political stability, we can begin to rebuild the economy. And the economy can only be built, in our view, when we have a coalition government. A coalition government between ZANU PF and CCC. I know we're going to be insulted in some forums for even suggesting that there must be a coalition government between ZANU PF and CCC, but it has to be there for the sake of Zimbabweans. Those in CCC that think that they will win state power in 2023, they must be sober, very sober, and analyze the statements by Obed Mbofu, which he said in the last few days. Be very sober, analyze what he said. I saw the condemnation, fine. Obed Mbofu was condemned for what he said, fine. But people must be sober and analyze the statement. So when Obed Mbofu says ZANU PF will not give up power, he's saying this because Zimbabwe is a deep state. And you will not dismantle a deep state through an election. I know there are political scientists who are my friends here. It would be interesting to hear their theories. And I give examples to say this country was a deep state and the deep state was dismantled through an election. The United States, by the way, is a deep state. And the deep state, when we talk of a deep state, we are saying they are unelected individuals who are running the affairs of the state. And in the case of the United States, it is your billionaires, your filthy rich individuals that they are running the state in the United States of America. And the two political parties in the United States, they are funded by them. So there's no difference between the two. Whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, there's no difference. The difference is that you will have President Joe Biden, then you have Trump, then you have Obama, and so forth and so forth. But it's just one thing. It's a deep state. Egypt is a deep state, similar to Zimbabwe, because the military is in charge. So in Zimbabwe, it's a deep state and the military is in charge. So the military will not hand over power to civilians if its own interest is not taken care of. So, Comrade Alistair, you are a political scientist, I know, and many others, they are political scientists. We want to learn from you on how you can dismantle a deep state through an election. Because the deep state controls the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, to start with. The very body that is responsible for organizing the elections is militarized. And how do you hope then to win an election under such an environment? It's not possible. Yes, you can win being a councillor, member of parliament. You can. Not the state, not the presidents. This is why, therefore, to dismantle the deep state, first and foremost, you must get involved in a coalition government. And we are saying ZANU PF and CCC must be in a coalition government to bring stability, political stability, and then begin the whole journey of rebuilding the economy. This is very important. I know, as I'm concluding, that I'll be bashed by some. I speak my views, and fortunately, the views that you express are scientific. So, but what we know, if this does not happen, if Nelson Chamisa and Emerson Mnangagwa do not meet and agree, the outcome of the 2023 elections will give ZANU PF a 2/3 majority. We know ZANU PF cannot rebuild the economy. More Zimbabweans are going to continue to come to South Africa. Operation Tudula and other right-wing formations, they will continue as South Africa will be built into 2024 elections, targeting migrants. And what we saw in Deep Sloot is going to escalate in different communities. And the CCC is going to cry foul after 2023 and say the election was rigged. And we are going back to what we have seen when there were MTC alliance. Every time President Mnangagwa entered parliament, they will walk out. So polarization will continue, building again to 2028. So we'll be playing this thing on and on. But we must bring this thing to an end. And the only way to do so is that we need a coalition government in Zimbabwe between ZANU PF and CCC. Well, they can then invite others. That's something else. But the key players, political players, is ZANU PF and CCC. They need to get to a coalition government, as we saw in 2009 and 2013, bring political stability. You will know that in the build-up to 2023 elections, there was no violence. I had practical experience to that because in the build-up to 2023, I was based in Zimbabwe. 2011, I relocated to Zimbabwe working under Jomik. We will go to communities, 3 political parties, ZANU PF. I was in the MTC then, MTC, Green, MTC team. We used to go to communities. I was deployed in Matebelele in South. So Andrew Langa, the ZANU PF chairman, then Mkwena, the MTC Green chairman then, and the Watches Band, the MTCT chairman then, would address public meetings across Matebelele and South. And I was an officer of Jomic representing the MDC, and we were organizing those meetings. We would drive them to those meetings, the chairpersons of the 3 political parties. They would be engaging communities to say no to political violence. This is why in 2023, there were few incidences of political violence. I'm not saying it was eliminated, but there were very, very few incidences. What we did not crack and resolve was the issue of distribution, food distribution, and farming implements distribution. We tried our level best. On that, we failed. But on the question of sitting down under a tree in different communities in Bedbridge, next to the border of Mozambique, Bulilima, everywhere, we were going with the 3 chairpersons. The chairperson of the province for the main wing of each party, the organizer or commissar in the case of ZANU PF and organizer in the case of the 2 MDCs, the chairperson of the Youth League, ZANU PF, and the Youth Assembly for the 2 MDCs, the chairperson of the Women's League for ZANU PF, and the chairpersons of the Women's Assembly in the case of the MDC. So these 4 officials will be going around to address meetings, to call for an election to be held in a free and a fair environment, and people were told not to engage in any violence. I remember where in Matopo, one of the areas in Matopo South, young people came forward to say they were used in 2008 to beat up villagers, and they were confessing. So that was progressive. It was progressive because we understood between 2011, when Jomic began to roll out its program, that were all Zimbabweans, irrespective of the political affiliation or the party that you belong to, were all Zimbabweans. We wanted the best for Zimbabwe so that the people will elect their own leaders without the use of force. Like I'm saying, we only failed to deal with the food distribution, which remained in ZANU PF hands using the traditional leadership. But on violence, we're able to deal with it. So if this is not done again, where leaders of major political parties will be going out in communities, you'll have a situation that we saw in the build-up to the by-elections, where you apply for permission to hold the rally because they are triple C, the police will say no. And when you go there, the police will be deployed to harass you, to beat you up. But ZANU PF will be allowed to hold rallies. So it's important that for the sake of the people of Zimbabwe, for the sake of stopping, at the very least, young people crossing to South Africa. And if we want some Zimbabweans who are not employed in South Africa to begin to return back to Zimbabwe, is that we must have political stability. And the political stability can only happen if ZANU PF and Triple C enter into a coalition government. Whether they can enter into a coalition government before 2023 elections, whether they will enter coalition government post the 2023 elections, but what is key is that we need a coalition government in Zimbabwe. So, comrades, please write your views. I've been seeing some comrades writing, I couldn't read. So we want to hear your views. But as I started by saying, we really appreciate, we thank all of you, progressive Africans, that are mourning the death of Elvis Nyati. We have put out, the family has put out the 2 banking details for those that want to make financial contributions. If you missed that, I've also posted in my wall. There is also a cell phone number for If you want to transfer e-wallet and so forth, you can do so. I've seen, as I started by saying, that progressive South Africans, progressive Africans across the continent expressing shock on what happened. So we thank you so much. Otherwise, comrades, stay safe wherever you are and have a great weekend. And to my Arsenal fans, friends, Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea, we know that all of you will be supporting Manchester City against our great team Liverpool on Sunday. You are going to be humbled. Bye-bye.